So, John, what's the worst thing a teacher's ever done to you?
Tried to make me run laps, maybe?
That doesn't sound that bad.
Oh, come on, you've never seen me run laps, clearly.
Fair. You don't strike me as the most athletic type.
Oh, I'm sorry, as opposed to you?
I cycle everywhere.
All right, fine, sure, yeah. That explains your athletic physique.
Drop and give me 20.
You dropped, give me 20.
No.
Maybe last time we did this, we know who won.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how hard could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome everybody to Beyond the Box Set, a podcast where you pitch prequels, sequels and spin-offs to films that don't have any. I'm Harry, and joining me as always is John.
Hello.
Alright, John. Matilda.
All right.
I guess continuing our little season of films that starred the directors. Not starred, but had the directors in them.
He's one of the stars of it, yeah. So this
Well,
is
if you compare it to last week's film, The Cable Guy.
Sure.
Ben Stiller doesn't star in that.
No, he's barely in it at all.
Yeah.
True. But yeah, so this is the 1996 adaptation of Roald Dahl's classic novel Matilda, as directed by Danny DeVito, who also stars in the film, or appears in the film, as Matilda's father, Harry Wormwood.
That's right. Oh, it is Harry, yeah.
Yeah. It's the great name for all, low lives. So.
How dare you.
Indeed.
Although if you were to ask me which character I relate to most, it is Harry Wormwood.
In what sense?
He's just great. He's just so grumpy and unhappy all the time. I love it.
I was going to ask you, actually, what did you think of his suits?
Yeah, they were okay. They were middling because they weren't massively out there, but they weren't also completely weird, which Danny DeVito can pull off either.
It was a lot of mustardy colours, mustardy yellows, and yeah, and then I wasn't sure. But they were supposed to look a bit skeevy.
Yeah.
So was it like? So are you telling me that basically looking at Danny DeVito in this film is essentially looking into the future for you?
If I shrink a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
Got a lot of hair loss to get through.
Yeah. I think you can do it.
Thanks.
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
It's been on my list for ages to do
good.
this film. Yeah, it's one of my favourite films from my childhood, and it's great fun to revisit.
I agree. I'm so glad you picked this. This was so much fun. This is the most fun I've had watching one of our films for quite some time.
Yeah, same.
It's just, I loved it when I was a kid. I love it now.
I think that this film, or a lot of the scenes in this film, are absolutely iconic.
I would agree. So much of it immediately came back to me.
It feels like cinema history. This film is such an amazing film.
Is it the best adaptation of a Roald Dahl novel?
I don't know, because the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is pretty amazing as well.
It is pretty good. I think it's a little bit more different to the book than this
Yeah,
is.
I think that the Johnny Depp one was more loyal to the book.
Yeah, and yet I don't think that works
much
as well.
worse.
Yeah, definitely. And then The Witches is really good as well.
Yeah, it's not a patch on Matilda though, is it?
No. I think Matilda might be my favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's other ones as well, but yeah, Matilda. Wes Anderson's take on Fantastic Mr. Fox is pretty
Oh,
decent.
yeah, of course.
There's James and the Giant Peach is a pretty good one as well. But no, I think this is my favourite. And this was my favourite Roald Dahl book as well.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved this one as a kid. Because I was quite a bookish child. And I spent a lot of my...
Do you mean a nerd?
No, I mean I was a bookish child. I was an intellectual. I was a young intellectual.
Oh, okay. Okay, you keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, sure. I had friends in the books.
Yeah, I was thinking.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't have... My parents were perfectly nice. I wasn't like a horribly neglected child or anything. But I did spend a lot of my youth in public libraries, just reading books, and this really spoke to me. I felt like I was Matilda when I was a little kid. In fact, I have a really embarrassing but really strong memory of when I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old when I first read this book, spending hours and hours just staring at glasses of water, trying to make them fall over.
Oh. Well, we've all had that phase.
Sure.
Mine was with Harry Potter. I was just waiting for my letter from Hogwarts to come. It never came.
I'm just imagining you wandering around the Welsh valleys just shouting out, Expelliarmus! Accurate?
Yeah, you're not a million miles away.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think this works so well because it's just a hair away from being a horribly dark tale of abuse. So it's not afraid
As
to go...
all good Roald Dahl stories are.
Exactly, and I think as a lot of good children's stories are. Like a lot of my favourite children's stories, whether it's Roald Dahl or not, have this edge of darkness, and they're not kind of afraid to show that. But it doesn't mean that they have to be really bleak and depressing, because this film is joyous and fun. It's not a depressing film, but it definitely isn't afraid to touch on the darker subject matter of the film.
Yeah.
The tone is, for me, is perfect. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
It gets the tone of the book, and it gets that tone that kids can tap into right away. It's great. I like how so much of it is shot from a kid's eye view. All the adults are filmed like from upwards, and it really works really well, especially when it's like the Trunchbull. Like, it makes it look even more big and monstrous. And
it does, and it does make it look terrifying.
Yeah. It's really, really good. It's just real enough, but also just cartoonish enough that it's not scary and depressing, but it's also quite fun and hyper real. And that goes down to everything from the story and also the way it looks visually, like because it is shot from that kind of child's eye perspective, and also the way everyone's dressed. Like, obviously we talked about Danny DeVito's costumes, and obviously the Trunchbull is just the most amazing creation.
She is stunning in this. She's great.
It must have been so much fun for the makeup artist, and the costumes and everything, like with the jodhpurs and the sensible boots, the army boots and the socks, the tight bun, the warts, the broken blood vessels on the skin. She looked horrifying.
She must have had great fun playing it as well.
Well, apparently she did actually stay in character through most of the filming, so the children would be genuinely terrified of her.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Watching it as a child, she was so fun to watch and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
It was weird how she managed to get that balance, and incredible.
Yeah, she's the best kind of villain, because in any kind of film you should always be slightly rooting for the villain. Well, I wasn't rooting for her to win, because Miss Honey and Matilda are both delightful, but you have fun watching her. She's not just this agent of misery, and you actually really sort of like her, because she's really fun to watch. Like I said, she's camping it up to the max. It's so over the top. Like, some of her insults are amazing. A lot of it comes from the Roald Dahl book. They're so well written, and he's great with language. But some of the ways she describes the children, so she'd be great at Scrabble. Like, she has a lot of, she's got a very good vocabulary.
Yeah.
Actually, it's about the new girl in my class, Ms Trunchbull, Matilda Wormwood.
Her father says she's a real wart.
A what?
A carbuncle, a blister, a festering pustule of malignant ooze.
Oh, no.
One day, Jen, you'll see that everything I do is for your own good. And the good of those putrescent little children! Sit down, you squirming worm of vomit! Stand up, you villainous sack of goat slime! You did this! I shall personally see to it that the demented, drooling, slime-breathed little Lilliputian who owns this disgusting ribbon will never see the light of day again. You didn't like the chokey, did you? Thought you'd pay me back, didn't you? Well, I'll pay you back, young lady.
For what, Ms Trunchbull?
For this newt, you pissworm!
And the parents are great too.
The Wormwoods.
The Wormwoods, yeah.
I think they might be my favourite characters.
Really? Yeah.
They're so out there, and they're just fun to watch, and also horrible to watch. And also Danny DeVito he's just great.
He is always a good time.
Yeah. Even though he's so different in pretty much every role he plays, he always does it so well. I think I'm now just stuck on him being in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just his character in that. And now whenever I see him, I just kind of compare him to that, I guess.
Because that's when he's like at his grossest.
Yeah, because this one feels like natural progression. He's gone from Mr. Wormwood, where he's a bit dodgy, he's got a dodgy business, he makes money, and he's a bit of a horrible person, and then he's just getting worse and worse and worse until he turns into Frank in It's Always Sunny.
Is this what your sequel's going to be?
No.
It's like Mr. Wormwood, after escaping from that town, ends up
speedboat salesman.
Ends up in Philly. Discovers his old family. He could have an old family.
Yeah, true.
It could happen. Yeah, I always did go for what happens to the Wormwoods next. I didn't in the end, but I could totally imagine a world in which it's the same character. He just goes on a massive downward spiral.
Yeah.
And I thought she was great as well, Rhea Perlman, who's Danny DeVito's real life wife.
All right.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Playing Zinnia Wormwood, and I thought her look was so fantastic,
wasn't it?
She was so tacky. It was so many like neon green and yellow and pink kind of crop tops, and the ratty hair extensions, the peroxide blonde, and I kept noticing little things as well, little details on the way she was dressed that she or like the crew must have decided on and done on purpose. Like, for example, when she's on the phone to somebody, Matilda comes in and she's too busy talking on the phone, and Matilda's trying to tell her about her day and she's just too busy talking on the phone. Every one of her nails is painted a different colour, which is just great. It's such a good detail. And also there's another scene where she's wearing like a low slung, because she's really like mutton dressed as lamb. And there's another scene where she's wearing this kind of low slung kind of top, and her boobs are covered in glitter.
I missed that completely.
It was the first time I noticed it, but it was, so obviously she really went all out on this kind of really tacky look, and like the makeup with the like really heavy eyeliner and mascara, like she really was made up like a drag queen in some scenes, and it was fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah.
I really liked the last scene that Mrs Wormwood has, where she says goodbye to Matilda, and just like, I never knew how to raise a daughter, and it was really sweet.
It was a little moment of redemption for her, And I did.
Mr Wormwood just didn't get it at all.
Couldn't have cared less, But she had that little moment,
Yeah.
But I did love the little detail that Matilda's been carrying around blank adoption papers since she was old enough to Xerox.
Yeah, that was good.
Adopt me, Miss Honey. You can adopt me.
Look, I don't have time for all these legalities.
1 second, Dad. I have the adoption papers. What? Hey, where'd you get those? From a book in the library. I've had them since I was big enough to Xerox. All you have to do is sign them.
What do you think, Pumpkin?
You're the only daughter I ever had, Matilda. And I never understood you, not one little bit. Who's got a pen?
And what did you think of Matilda herself, Mari Wilson?
She was brilliant. I was expecting to watch these the other day thinking, okay, here we go, a bit of dodgy child acting, but not at all.
No.
Yeah, she did an absolutely incredible job, and as with pretty much every other character, just great fun to watch.
Yeah.
She's just really pleasing to be on screen.
I think for me, she's one of the all-time great child actors. She's so good. She projects intelligence really well. Because obviously the whole point of Matilda, you have to believe she's the smartest person in the room at any given time.
Yeah.
That's her whole thing. And she does that so for someone her age, like 8, 9 years old when she filmed this film. She's not just like reciting the lines like a lot of child actors do, including some in this film, some of the lesser ones in this film. But she was really like understood the character totally. There's so many little moments that I really loved, like when she walks into the house and just kind of nonchalantly goes, "The cops watching the house."
Yeah.
She just says it with this really kind of deadpan kind of like,
Yeah.
She's great. I love her. And when she's arguing about how old she is, and because he thinks she's 4, and she's like, "I'm 6.5. I should have been in school. I asked to go to school. I should have been in school in September." Like, yeah, she was really, really good. I like her a lot. She's actually done really well out of the whole being a child actor thing, because she did the right thing, whereas so many child actors like, Lindsay Lohan and Judy Garland and all the other, even Haley Joel Osment, go off the rails a bit, and it all ends being quite depressing. She did like 2 or 3 films after this, and then she decided she didn't really like acting anymore, so she just stopped. And then she just seems to be very well adjusted these days. She writes plays, she's a journalist, I think she's written books, and she just seems very like smart and happy and healthy and fulfilled, which is really nice. It's nice to see some child actors not end up just drug-addled train wrecks.
Yeah.
So that's because that would make the film depressing to watch if you were watching this.
Yeah, it would.
It's like when you watch old Lindsay Lohan films and you think, "Oh, she was great then, but it's such a shame how it turned out," Or like Corey Haim, Corey Feldman films and stuff, or even Haley Joel Osment films. Whereas this, it's like, "Oh, great, she's great, and she's still great, great." Yeah,
That was a weird sentence.
it was a weird sentence. Too many greats. Yeah.
Where'd all this come from?
The library.
The library? You've never set foot in a library. You're only 4 years old.
6.5.
You're 4.
6.5.
If you were 6.5, you'd be in school already.
I want to be in school. I told you I was supposed to start school in September. You wouldn't listen.
Any particular favourite scenes? I mean, there's so many.
Maybe where we first actually see Mara Wilson is in the scene where she's walking back from the library with a trailer of books.
Yeah. Oh, I might have cried a little bit when she first walks into the library.
It was just...
It was so sweet.
It is so adorable. We've got to actually say, that actress did really well as well.
Oh, yeah, the younger
That
one.
4-year-old.
Yeah, she was great, yeah. They were all really good. There were no real weak links at all.
Yeah, she was just adorable. And then that scene with her walking down the street with the trailer of books and the music comes in. And it's like, oh, is that music? Oh, I remember that music.
The music really, yeah, I had such a strong memory of the music. Like when she's, the first scene when she's cooking the eggs for herself, or the pancakes, she's making pancakes, and that music, that kind of slightly tribal sounding song, I don't know what it is, comes in. And I was like, oh my God, this song, I've not heard it since the last time I watched this film, which is a long time ago. But yeah, everything about this film has stayed in my memory much more than I thought it had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the way, on the way, on the way, on the way.
That song is the Matilda song.
It 100% is. Is it the same song she's dancing to later on in the film, or is that a different song?
I'm not sure. When I'm referring to the Matilda song, I don't know which one I'm referring to.
Yeah, but they were both really good.
Yeah. But I think I'd hear them both and just be like, okay, that's from Matilda.
100%, yeah.
Oh, such a great film, such happy memories.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with this one.
What about Bruce Bogtrotter?
Oh, one of the greatest heroes of all the cinema, I feel like. What a legend.
Oh, God, imagine being in that school on that day.
Yeah.
That'd be something else.
Honestly, I think that
Where
is
did that cake go?
absolute
Because
hero.
that cake was like the size of the top half of his body.
Oh, yeah.
So either his stomach is now very dense,
Yeah.
or he was just actively shitting through the whole process.
That's what you don't see. He was sat in a massive pool of his own shit.
In and out.
I mean, that
Oh,
makes-
God,
makes
sorry,
you
we
twisted
lowered the
even-
tone there.
That makes you twisted even for Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the cook. I'd forgotten about the cook.
Oh, no. Oh, that's disgusting.
What a great one-line character, just like licking both her elbows and then just going, "See you at lunch."
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh, she was fantastic.
God, how are any of those kids still alive?
Well, yeah. This is the point with the film. It does obviously go into the realm of fantasy because those kids would be dead. Like Hortensia says, like, you know, she's talking about when the first kid, one who eats the M&Ms, gets thrown out the window, and Matilda goes, "Was he okay?" And she went, "After being thrown out of a window? No, he lived." But like, and then you don't see it. You see, imagine he must have been hospitalised or something. But then obviously you have Amanda Fripp as well, who gets thrown around by her pigtails, which is another very memorable scene. It's just fun.
Now, I want to go back a little bit. I do have a question about that cake.
Okay, let's talk more about the cake. I actually do have one. If you the challenge begins.
So Bruce Bogtrotter stole a slice of it and ate it,
Sure.
and it was the Trunchbull's cake.
Yes.
And we see it on stage, and there's a slice missing already, and then she cuts another slice and gives it to him, and then says, "Eat the whole thing." Actually,
Yes.
so did Cook cook that cake for Trunchbull?
I guess.
So Cook's blood, sweat, and tears went into that cake. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that was just Trunchbull being a bit elaborate on stage. But regardless, that cake for one person, even the Trunchbull, that's a lot of cake.
Well, she's a big
That
lady.
cake was the size of this table.
It was, but you know, she's big. She's very athletic.
She couldn't eat all that cake.
It's a fantasy, Harry. Like, but there's where she gets all her aggression and body strength from. She's just,
Cake.
Yeah. Actually, no.
That's not how athletics works.
No, she'd actually be very lethargic and shit. One of those every day. I don't think she would.
You can't just eat sugar and then just burn it off. That's not quite right.
I don't know what to tell you. But,
Yeah, it's a bit of a flaw in the film, really, if you ask me.
oh, yeah, the logic of this film has just fallen apart completely now. Thumbs down, 2 thumbs down.
Yeah.
She made this cake just for you to have on your very own. Her sweat and blood went into this cake, and you will not leave this platform until you have consumed the entire confection. Entire confection. See you at lunch. Thank you, Cookie. Rotten kids. You wanted cake, you got cake. Now eat it.
Any more logistical questions about this film, particularly related to Bruce Bogtrotter and the cake?
No, but Amanda Fripp, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So, it's being swung round by her pigtails.
Yes.
How have they not just come off?
Oh, come on. Now you're just being a killjoy. It's a fantasy for children. You're not going to watch a child's hair being ripped out of her head by the fibres.
But that's
Just
what
the
would
bloodied
happen.
stumps, like, you know.
Okay, point number 3. When 40-year-old Matilda is walking to the library and back and, you know, across the road and everything, has not one single person stopped to ask her, "Where are your parents?"
Yeah.
She's a 4-year-old girl walking around a massive big city by herself. Someone needs to say something.
I feel like the librarian kind of, yeah, she seems to know enough, but yeah, she's like, "Oh, you can get your own library card," but at no point is she like,
"Can I have your address, please, for your
Yeah.
library card?"
Although maybe she did contact the parents and had the same reaction Miss Honey did and actually realised that, you know what, she's better off being able to have this place to come to rather than being left alone with those neglectful people.
Maybe. But
Maybe.
all I see are some plot holes there. And
Sure,
I think,
okay.
terrible film.
Oh, well, another one ruined. End of podcast. Let's just cancel it right there.
I hope listeners realise I am being sarcastic.
You? Never. I also forgot, like, the chokey is genuinely quite terrifying.
Oh my god, yeah, that was...
Why is it smoking? What's burning in there?
I guessed it was a steam vent,
Oh, okay, sure.
maybe?
Because also, I mean, not that I want to follow you down this rabbit hole of logic flaws, but the kids would die of smoke inhalation if it was constantly that smoky.
If it was smoke, yes.
If it was steam, no. Yeah. If it was steam, no, they just come up quite refreshed.
Pretty wet.
Probably, yeah, but, you know.
Don't
like
about refreshed.
Room. Yeah, well, you know, steam
Does
room.
that look like a refreshing steam room?
No, it looks horrifying, yeah. But...
You can't move, there's spikes in the walls.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they'd be traumatised, but they'd have great pores, you know.
Yeah.
Baby soft skin. Well, I mean, they are children, so they're going to have baby soft skin either way. But yeah. Yeah, that took a turn.
This is getting weird.
The chokey, yeah. It was really scary. All those rusty nails and... Ooh, yeah.
The hammer throws her specialty.
So she does this all the time?
It's better than being put in the chokey.
Chokey?
Yeah, the chokey. It's a tall, narrow hole in a wall behind a door. You have to stand in a drippy pipe with jagged edges, and the walls are broken glass and nails sticking out.
Inside, you festering ball of pus!
She puts kids in there?
I've been in twice. Sometimes she leaves you in there all day.
But didn't you tell your parents?
They didn't believe me. I mean, would your parents believe it?
So, long story short, too many plot holes, terrible film.
Nah, great film. One of the best.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Love it to bits.
Should we get on to some drinking games?
Let's.
Okay, so my first one is drink for any Roald Dahl references.
Okay, cool. What did you notice?
There were a few insults where somebody would call someone else a twit.
Yep.
There's a few of them. There was a lot of chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of child abuse.
Yeah, yes. That's not a specific Roald Dahl reference.
No, he didn't invent child abuse.
It's in all
thank
of his
God,
films,
but
yeah.
it's in literally everything he's written.
True, yeah.
So there we go. I'm counting that as a reference.
So every time you see child abuse in a non-Roald Dahl film, you're like, that's such a Roald Dahl thing.
Not really. All right. Okay, I was making a joke. Stop trying to apply logic to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whoever would do that? Who would kill a joke with logic and plot holes? Anyway, conveniently enough, my first drinking game is in fact horrifying child abuse.
What? It's copying me.
Not copying. Your one was Roald Dahl references. Mine was specifically drink every time a child is horribly abused. So there's Amanda Fripp being thrown around by her pigtails. Bruce Bogtrotter being forced to eat that cake, although he ended up kind of enjoying it. The scene where Matilda's dad grabs her face and makes her watch the TV unseen and makes it explode, that was pretty dark, I felt. Right? And obviously she's left alone so very much.
Yes, but she likes that.
She does like that. Miss Honey, if you count her as a child, in the flashbacks as well, she gets her arm broken. And the Trunchbull actually murders her dad. They make that pretty explicit, which is pretty dark.
Oh, yeah, true. What about that?
Yeah. She's an actual killer.
Damn her.
Yeah. Anyway, next one.
Oh, yeah. Drink for outstanding music.
Yes, absolutely.
Great soundtrack in this film.
Yeah. Do you want to know a cute fact about the dancing scene? The main one when she discovers her powers and she's dancing. Well, even though obviously they play horrible parents, Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman were actually very, very nice to Maury Wilson in the filming and got very close to her. And I believe they stayed in touch with her throughout her life and she sees them as close friends, family friends. Anyway, when they were filming that dance scene where she's being psychic and moving everything around, she was really self-conscious because she didn't want to be the only person dancing. So while she's filming that scene, they're both off stage just dancing with gay abandon.
Wow.
Yeah. So she wouldn't be the only one. Isn't that adorable?
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, can she see them dancing?
Yeah, that's the whole point. I think, in fact, the entire cast and crew were dancing.
Oh, right.
They made everyone dance so that she wouldn't be the only person dancing because she was really self-conscious because she was a kid, So that was the hardest thing she had to do, apparently. She struggled to... She was shy about dancing, so they just turned it into a big old dance party but only filmed her.
Oh,
yeah.
Sweet.
Bless. Drink every time the Trunchbull lays down a sick burn.
Go on.
Her dialogue was amazing. Her insults were fabulous. And the voice work she was doing, that's what she was so hamming it up to the max. She was so good at it. Just one of the all-time great children's villains. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, every time she just burns, or every time she reads a kid to filth, have a drink.
God, she's such a horrible person.
And yet so aspirational.
I love her so much. She's great.
Amanda Fripp.
Yes, Miss Trunchbull.
What are those?
What's what, Miss Trunchbull?
Hanging down by your ears.
You mean my pigtails?
Are you a pig, Amanda?
No, Miss Trunchbull.
Do I allow pigs in my school?
My mommy thinks they're sweet.
Your mommy is a twit.
Drink anytime a character reads out just a random number.
A random number?
Yeah, there's actually a fair few.
Remind me.
There's a lot in classrooms where just 13 times 553, and then Matilda's just like 18,020 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Danny DeVito comes back, and I just sold this car for £15,200, and it cost me this much or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's quite a few bits of just characters just spouting out numbers.
Yeah. I did find that somewhat unrealistic.
What, Danny DeVito's sales?
No, well, maybe I didn't really put too much thought into that. The main thing is that she's this great reader and she loves books. She's got this great imagination, which I could relate to. But in general, people who are good at literature aren't good at maths. It's two separate sides of the brain. I was like, this is unfair. You can't be good at everything, Matilda. Like,
well, sorry, maybe she is.
Just like, I read a book about maths once and then suddenly I'm a human calculator. Like, come on.
Sorry, I didn't write it.
No, I couldn't do maths. That's the thing. I could relate to Matilda to the extent that I read voraciously when I was a kid, but I was always terrible at maths. So I was like, I'm not really Matilda then.
You sound very bitter.
I'm a little bit. I couldn't knock over
Not a little bit.
I couldn't knock over glasses and I couldn't multiply 5-digit numbers in my head in a split second. So it made me feel very insecure. Yeah.
Oh well. Poor
Anyway,
you.
Poor me indeed.
Pretty soon you'll be able to do any multiplication, whether it's 2 times 7.
14.
Very good. Or 13 times 379.
4,927.
I beg your pardon?
I think that's the answer.
Drink every time the Trunchbull is a bull in a china shop.
What does she break? Does she break much?
She breaks loads. She's very destructive to her own property. She's
True,
always
yeah.
like doing indoor shot put and indoor javelin.
Yeah.
Like it's like, how much damage are you causing? This is your property.
True.
And then obviously whenever she gets angry, she literally becomes a bull. Like she's the way she runs, and she just like charges and she
The
just
way she
breaks
snorts.
Through. Yeah, exactly. It's very much deliberate, and she's like blasting through furniture. She flings things. She breaks things. So she's just this force of utter destruction, which is great.
I liked the bit where she jumped off the balcony down the stairs, or instead of down the stairs.
Yes.
And just landed down, the chandelier crashed down behind her. It inspired me to jump off stairs.
As a kid.
Yeah.
How did that go for you?
We were on great. I had a great time. I jumped over so many banisters.
Really?
In hindsight, I was very lucky.
Yeah, my God, I'm glad you're still here today. Well, somewhat.
Yeah.
I also remember thinking the bit where she charges at Lavender, you know, Matilda's best friend, and Matilda uses her psychic powers to make Lavender jump up.
Yeah.
And then Lavender's kind of hanging from a high ceiling, and then Matilda kind of says, when it's all clear, Matilda says, "Let go," and obviously she uses her psychic powers to let Lavender, you know, float gently to the ground and safely to the ground. And then Lavender says, "I didn't know I could do that," and I thought to myself watching it this time, I hope someone told her afterwards that she couldn't, because that could have led to some tragic outcome.
Very true. Yep. God. My final one is drink for sports.
For sports, okay, sure.
Okay, let's say sport fighting. A lot of abuse was adapted from sports.
Do you mean whenever she throws someone or throws something at someone, or?
Like, say, instead of the javelin, she threw Amanda Thripp.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, that one's discus.
Yeah.
And then the javelin would be that person who throws out the window.
Now, is competitive eating, does that count as a sport?
She didn't do it though, but yeah,
But I mean, she made Bruce do it.
Yeah, I guess. Cool. All right.
Yeah. Okay. My last one is drink every time Miss Honey oversteps the teacher-pupil boundary.
In what way?
Well, sometimes she was a little bit inappropriate. I mean, again, in the service of the film.
How so?
Well, turning up on her parents' doorstep the first day, kind of barging in. That was a little bit. Taking Matilda with her to break into a house.
Yeah.
Telling Matilda, an 8-year-old girl, about the horrific abuse she suffered as a child. Literally, she was like, you know, oh, Ms Trunchbull's my auntie, and she broke my arm once, and I'm pretty sure she killed my dad. And I was waiting for Matilda to be like, why are you telling me this? I'm 8. Like,
yeah, maybe.
yeah,
I
just,
don't know.
and, you know, encouraging her to go in and steal Lissy Doll, and, you know, yeah, there were just some moments. I was like, you know.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
I mean, Miss Honey is lovely, but yeah, it just made me laugh thinking for like teachers would not get away with actually behaving like that.
Yeah.
A girl I know used to live in that house. Her life was good and happy. When she was just 2 years old, her mother died. Her father was a doctor, and he needed someone to look after things at home, so he invited the mother's stepsister to come and live with him. But the girl's aunt was a mean person who treated the girl very badly.
The Trunchbull.
Yes. And worst of all, when the girl was 5, her father died.
How did her father die?
The police decided he'd killed himself.
Why would he do such a thing?
No one knows.
Cool. Okay. Well, if that's that, then we will shortly get on to some sequels. But first, we'll talk a little bit about Patreon. That's what we do at this point in the episode, I guess. So if any of you are particular fans of the show and would like to support us in any way, if you'd like to say thank you in a financial way to us, then we'd be thankful back.
A financial thank you. What a lovely way of putting it.
Yeah. So if you go to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset, you can donate anywhere between $2,000 and $15,000 a month to us. I don't know why I say that every week. No one's going to donate $15,000.
Not with that attitude, they're not.
And as our thank you to you, we've got a bit of bonus content on there. About once a week, we post an episode of our show called Beyond the Box Set, where we review films that are in the cinema right now. Mm-hmm. What's our latest episode?
At time of recording, it's Love, Simon.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure we'll have more by the time this comes out because we're a few weeks ahead at the moment. So,
yeah. So what else do we do on Patreon, John?
So once a month, we also have a Patreon special episode in which one of our patrons is invited to select a film for us to cover on this podcast. And if they wish to join us to discuss the film with us, they are more than welcome to. You can also tell us some personal details about yourself, and we will, as horrifying as you like, and we will use them to make you a character in one of our sequels.
What we mean is, give us your name or a name,
yeah,
and we'll make you a character. That's it. We don't need your mother's maiden name. We don't need the street you grew up on or your first pet.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
well, if you want to, then
yeah, if you want to, sure, yeah. And finally,
every month we will do a 30-second advert slot for anything that you want to advertise. So that could be your own podcast, it could be your own business, it could be a business you like, or as I do every single week, I pick out one of John's household objects and try and advertise that for a little bit.
You're going to be out soon, aren't you? It's quite a sparse apartment I keep.
What? This is full of crap.
All right, well, go on.
What have we got here? Goldfish. Get them, they're good. There's 2 of them here. They keep trying to escape.
Yeah. Yeah, I have 2.
They're both hiding now, I'm talking about them.
Yeah, they're very publicity shy.
What are they called?
So my goldfish at the moment, we recently lost Befinda Carlisle, sadly. So now I have Place Jones and Gil Scott Heron.
Lovely.
Gil Scott Heron's new. Place Jones has been with me for a long time. Mm-hmm. And Gil Scott Heron's a new arrival, so she's only wee. But yeah, they're very affectionate, loving pets. And
Great.
They've seen me naked many times.
Lovely. So if you want to buy John's goldfish...
and all the haunting memories, and all the disturbing memories that haunt them.
So if you would like to support us on Patreon, then it's patreon.com/beyondtheboxset, and we will be eternally thankful.
We will. And if you do donate that 15k, we'll do something extra special for you.
Yeah.
Extra special.
Not that
if
extra.
You know what I mean.
Not that extra.
It's negotiable.
Okay, well, let's go on to some sequels. John, what you got for me?
Okay, so my sequel. I have decided to follow my favourite character from this film in a sequel, which isn't Matilda. It is, in fact, Ms Trunchbull.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the Newt.
The Newt? Yeah. I've really gone on a journey. It's Watership Down. No, okay, so my sequel is a direct sequel, and it's called Trunchbull's Last Stand. Mm-hmm. Matilda 2, Trunchbull's Last Stand. So, obviously at the end of the first film, Ms Trunchbull flees town forever because she's exposed, she's kicked out of the school, so she has nowhere to go. So she flees town forever and ends up in New York City, where she rents a small apartment, and she fits in pretty well in New York City because that's one of those places where her hyper-aggressive tendencies just read as typical big city behaviour. Mm-hmm. You know, people in big cities get rude. So,
yeah.
So she can't possibly go back into teaching because no reputable school would ever hire her. So she needs to find a new way to make ends meet, basically. So she works a few dead-end jobs at first. I think we might have a funny montage here of Ms Trunchbull attempting all kinds of jobs that she's woefully ill-suited for.
Such as?
Working behind a perfume counter, maybe. Or just on customer service generally, doing telesales.
Her on customer service.
Yeah, anything customer service, basically.
Oh, well, like on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That'd be incredible. Mm-hmm. That'd be incredible to watch. She'd be so angry all the time.
Exactly. And she should definitely drive an Uber at some point. She gets very, as we saw in the original film, she gets a lot of road rage. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, just lots of like jobs that she's very much unsuited for. Mm-hmm. Anyway, eventually she ends up as a labourer on a construction site.
Okay.
Where her fearsome strength becomes an asset, obviously. So she mostly tries to keep herself to herself because she's not exactly a social animal, is she? She's not really a people person. No. But she does end up winning the grudging respect of her co-workers thanks to her strong work ethic and her take-no-shit attitude. And there's one worker who's maybe kind of takes a bit of a liking to her. Not in a romantic way, because I think it's pretty clear that you'd be barking up the wrong tree there. Well, not to stereotype, but come on, let's be real.
Yep.
But I don't know, there's something about her that he just likes. You know, he's that classic, you know, sees the good. Like that guy who was friends with the Punisher in that one episode before.
Yeah.
Who I thought was going to be a character and then never seen again.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's by the by. So anyway, there's this one character, there's one construction worker who takes a liking to her, and he's constantly trying to convince her to kind of join the rest of the men after work for a few beers one night. And initially she witheringly dismisses him in her typical, aggressive style. But over the months that she's working there, eventually he kind of wears her down, and she finally agrees to join the men for some after-work drinks, if only just to shut him up. So they go to a local bar after their shift, they have a few drinks, and she's not really that comfortable. She's feeling a bit anxious. She doesn't really enjoy socialising particularly. But it turns out, as the night goes on and the drinks flow, the bar that they're in is running an open mic night.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, fucking hell. Oh, man. All right.
Where do you think this is going?
I don't know. But just those are not two things I've ever thought to put together. The Trunchbull and an open mic night.
I was very happy when I came up with this.
Oh, dear.
So this bar's running an open mic night, and there's singer-songwriters, there's stand-up comics, there's performance artists, and she finds the whole thing absolutely insufferable.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that she starts loudly heckling all of the acts from off stage.
Right.
So she's just like, piss off, shut up, get off the stage, you grotty little pissworm. Just using her flowery language and everything. And she is brutal. She takes down each and every one of them with her mercilessly worded put-downs, so much so that several of the acts actually flee the stage in tears.
Wow.
Yeah. However, the audience are absolutely loving it.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually the compere of the evening gets sick and tired of her interrupting the show. And he says, look, lady, if you think you're so much better than everybody else, why don't you come up here and show us how it's done? And of course, her first response is, lady? And then because she's never one to back down from a challenge, she storms onto the stage, where she proceeds to tear into the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's hurling insults left and right, just going from person to person to person. Totally rude, utterly un-PC, absolutely offensive, and the crowd is just living for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like she doesn't even realise she's doing a set. She's just literally up there hurling abuse, just having a tantrum. Because that's her default defence mechanism, right?
Yeah.
But by the end, the crowd, like, on their feet, literally just screaming, like, do me, do me! And she's just reading everyone for filth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and at the end of the show, they have a cheer-off to decide who the best actor of the night is.
Mm-hmm.
And even though she wasn't technically competing, she wins by an absolute landslide.
Mm-hmm.
And as the compere shakes her hand, he begrudgingly says to her, I've got to say, that was one of the best sets I've seen in a long time. You've got the makings of a really great insult comic.
Sure, yeah.
So, because this is inspired by the fact that she's, as horrible as she is, she's fucking funny. She has a great sense of humour. Like, not just the insults. Like, I forgot actually one of my favourite lines of the film, actually, that I forgot to mention, is when she's got the newt on her chest and everyone's giggling, and she just kind of goes, come on, what is it? What's so funny? I enjoy a joke as much as the next fat person. I just think she's hilarious. I was like, I really got the sense watching this film she was just in the wrong industry. Like, I just don't think teaching was for her.
Given that kids were her biggest hate.
Her nemesis, yeah, exactly. Like, I think if she could have channeled her natural quick wit into something constructive, like stand-up comedy, insult comedy specifically, she could have gone far. So that's what inspired this.
Yeah.
So yeah. She has this amazing set, wins the prize, and is told that she's got the makings of a great insult comic. And he gives her his card and tells her to get in touch if she ever wants another booking. And she's very conflicted by this, because she's never really thought of herself as like a people person or an entertainer, God forbid. And she really just wants to keep her head down. But at the same time, she did kind of enjoy herself. Like, she hasn't felt that kind of rush since her glory days on the shot put field. Like, that just letting out all that aggression and, succeeding. And also, she could really use the money. So she agrees to take another gig, and once again, she crushes it. And before long, she's the toast of the New York stand-up comedy circuit.
Right.
So I saw a movie last year called The Big Sick, which is set on the New York comedy circuit, and I really enjoyed the fact that had a lot of actual stand-up comics kind of playing versions of themselves.
Okay,
I always
cool.
enjoy that in films.
Yeah.
Like celebrities playing themselves. So I was thinking, as she gets bigger and starts playing bigger stages, she can be sharing the stage with a bunch of famous comedians. So we could have cameos from people like Chris Rock, Wanda Sykes, Bianca Del Rio, Aziz Ansari, Amy Schumer, all these famous comedians. And they're all like, wow, Agatha, you're really something. Like, you are crazy. And she's part of this crowd now. She's suddenly part of this hip New York stand-up comedian crowd.
She's got a stage name.
I was thinking she could just be Agatha Trunchbull. I don't think she'd really hold of a stage name. I don't think she's that, she's too straightforward.
I was thinking if she just went with her surname.
Just Trunchbull.
Yeah.
The Trunchbull. Maybe she's just the Trunchbull.
Lose Agatha.
Okay, wow, Trunchbull. You're really something. Anyway. And soon she's so popular, she's headlining her own tours. Like selling out thousands of seats a night. And she even gets an invite to perform on a popular late night TV show, which are often West stand-up comics, get TV exposure.
Yeah.
So, and this is where we're going to cut to the sole cameo in the entire film of Matilda and Miss Honey.
Okay.
So they're back in wherever it was the first film was set, the town, watching TV. And they flick over, it's like the Conan O'Brien show or something, like some American thing, to see this new, wealthy and stylish version of the Trunchbull performing her stand-up comedy sets. And they'll just be like, what the... and then we'll go away from them. That's all we'll see.
Sure, all right.
I think that'd be really cute.
Yeah.
So she's doing really well, but even though she gets this massive rush out of the performing aspect of it, as her star rises, she realises that she really hates the trappings of celebrity that come with it. Because she basically hates all human beings. That's essentially why she's so good at being an insult comic.
Yeah.
And she's horrified to discover that some of her biggest fans are actually teenage hipsters who think that her no-nonsense personal style and angry delivery are like just some kind of ironic character performance. Like, they don't think it's the real her. And so she always tries to dissuade fans from approaching her in public. So basically, every time someone comes up for an autograph, she'll just be like, piss off! But the ruder and more insulting she is to them, the more they love her.
Quick question, is she still wearing the same outfit?
I think yes. I think maybe she's got a little bit more stylish. But I think like the essential kind of, militant look is definitely going to be tied up with the character. So yeah, it's like any stand-up comic who's actually an actor playing a character, like Keith Lemon or Ali G. When it's an actor playing a character, the costume is very much part of the character. Whereas I guess people assume that there's a real person who's nothing like this character, but actually what they don't realize is that that's actually who she is, and that's therein lies some of the comedy. So soon she finds herself in this hell of her own making, where she's performing for audiences that she despises and being constantly hounded by fans and paparazzi, and even getting asked to do personal appearances at hospitals where people ask her to roast sick children.
Wow.
Yeah. So one day she gets off stage and she's just at breaking point. Like she's just had too much of all the attention and the harassment. And one of her typical fans, who's this 20-something white man with long dreadlocks who smells strongly of hemp, he races up to her and asks her for an autograph. And as usual, she's just like, fuck off, you walking arcade fire song or something. Some creative insult on him. And he laughs and he's like, yeah, that's great. But seriously, the autograph? And he keeps following her and demanding that she sign something for him. And she keeps telling him in more and more colourful ways that he needs to fuck off and die. And he's just not getting the message at all. He's getting increasingly aggressive as he follows her. And eventually she snaps, and in a blind rage, she grabs him by the dreadlocks and she just flings him through the window of a nearby coffee shop. Unfortunately, there's no adorable psychic toddlers around this time, so he goes right through that window. And he is horribly injured. And worst of all, the paparazzi catch everything on camera. So now she's in the middle of this enormous scandal. And she's arrested, and soon she's at the centre of this massive celebrity trial in a huge media circus. The unfortunate fan lives. However, he has to testify against her in a wheelchair on account of all his injuries. And worst of all, on account of her being put on trial, her past as a murderous child abuser all comes back to haunt her. It all comes out, people investigate her past and find out all this stuff. Maybe Matilda and Miss Honey come and testify against her too. Although I still like the idea that they're only in that one scene. So maybe not, yeah. So anyway, she's exposed and she's humiliated, and she's ultimately sentenced to 15 years in a high-security women's prison. Her stand-up career now in tatters. So we cut to her in the prison yard after being sent down. And she's deadlifting an extremely heavy set of dumbbells, in the backyard. And she's confronted by a large, heavily tattooed fellow inmate who aggressively informs her that she's the top dog at this facility. And if she wants to stay out of trouble, she better show some goddamn respect. So the movie ends as Agatha Trunchbull smiles, turns to the inmate, the top dog, and with a scream of anger, grabs her by the throat. And then we cut to black. Boom, end credits. Because that's a happy place. I think she'd do well in prison too.
Wow. Crikey. Okay.
Any questions?
No, not really. You've covered that pretty thoroughly.
I'm pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. There it is. That is the Trunchbull's last stand.
Oh, great. Cool.
What's funny? Come on, spit it out. Speak up. I like a joke as well as the next fat person.
Okay, so mine is a straight sequel. And it's called Matilda 2, No More Miss Nice Girl, which is actually a line that she says in the first film.
It is, you're right, yeah.
I heard it and I was like, that's it. That's the name I'm taking.
Just building it all around that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Exactly. But okay, so we start off with a montage, as I'm known for, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
With Matilda growing up, with narration from Danny DeVito.
Sure, okay.
Matilda was a very smart girl, way above the class that she was in. She made it through primary school in just 1 year and high school in 2. She was a very powerful little girl. She could move things with her mind, but she didn't let anybody know, apart from her foster mother, Miss Honey. Miss Honey is the nicest person you'll ever meet. She's beautiful, yet not to be messed with. She's also the head teacher of the school and is friends with every student. Matilda's powers are the only thing in the whole world that she is jealous of. Matilda finished high school when she was 9, and so they had to get a private tutor to tutor her through college. She completed college in 2 years as well, with top marks. She studied as many topics as she possibly could. She finished her 3rd degree at the age of 17, where she stopped academia for a bit to chase boys.
Sure, okay.
Now,
What do you mean?
Now, I'm sure you'd love for the story to be all about that, because let's be honest, we're all a bit intrigued. But let's just say she had a few flings here and there as the years went by, but never a relationship, as that wasn't really what she wanted.
Oh, are you doing the Danny DeVito narration right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you sounded like you were doing a bit of a voice.
I'm not impersonating Danny DeVito.
No, you're not, but you're doing something.
Yeah. I'm just reading.
Yeah, but...
At age 23, she found herself pregnant. The father was around, but he didn't want to be involved, and she didn't really want him to either. So She had a little boy, who she raised by herself in what is now Granny Honey's home, and named the boy Magnus.
Oh, I think I know where this is going to go. Continue.
She loves him more than anything, and when the day came for her to send him off to Granny Honey's school, she couldn't bear it, so she went with him and became a teacher. And this is where our story picks up.
Okay.
So we start with a scene in a dark and rainy, rocky place. There is a shed with a light inside and the sound of muffled shouting. Probably a lot of swear words.
Cool, okay.
We go inside and see this is where Trunchbull lives. She is now 20 years more bitter, 20 years more horrible, and 20 years more frustrated.
Okay.
She has a picture from a newspaper stuck on the wall. It's a picture of Miss Honey and Matilda posing in front of her school, having just claimed the role of head teacher.
Ah, okay.
She uses this to throw darts, javelins, shot puts, just sort of outputting her anger towards this one picture on the wall.
Sure, okay. How old do you think Ms Trunchbull was in the first film?
I looked it up. She's around 50-ish.
Oh, you mean Pam Ferris was around 50?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, okay. But how do you think the character's around 50? I guess it would make sense.
Sure, it doesn't really...
So she's now in her 70s?
I guess.
She lost any of her strength, though?
I don't know. Let's just move past this.
Okay, sure. I don't think it matters.
One point, she throws a shot put to the wall, hitting Miss Honey square in the face.
Okay. The picture of Miss Honey?
Yes, right. The shot put bounces back and lands on her foot, breaking a toe.
Oh, no.
You say, oh no, she's the villain.
Oh, yeah, sure. I instinctively sided with the villain.
She screams out in pain and frustration, screaming at Miss Honey more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
She's more frustrated than she's ever been in her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
She's had 20 years of hurt, and now this. In fact, she is exactly as frustrated as Matilda was when she was living with the Wormwoods. And this leads to something very peculiar to happen. As Trunchbull screams in rage at the picture tears itself apart.
Oh, she's developing powers.
She looks confused, and then suddenly she shows a face of realisation. She looks at the shreds of paper on the floor, below where they used to hang, and with her mind, she lifts them up and throws them into the fireplace.
Ooh.
With a look of sheer madness on her face, she immediately starts packing a bag.
Ah, okay.
Cut
You
back.
painted a real picture this week, I like it. I'm really drawn in.
I've gone all out.
Yeah. This was worth the 2.5 hours you've been sat in my flat.
Cut back to the high school. It's the middle of the day, and Matilda is teaching her class. She's teaching the kids about newts,
Okay.
and the class is made up of kids who are all about 6 or 7, but Matilda's teaching them things for about 10 or 11-year-olds,
Okay.
because she's that good a teacher.
Oh, I see.
Outside, she hears a really loud and really old car turn up. She glances out the window, as do most of the teachers from their respective classrooms, and she recognises the car immediately as Trunchbull's car from 20 years ago.
She's kept that same car.
Yeah, I know.
It broke down in the first week.
She made it work.
Okay, sure.
With a look of horror on Matilda's face, she runs to the window, as do all the other teachers, all of them being ex-students of the school and remembering how Trunchbull was to them.
Ooh, okay. So is that going to be like Bruce is now teaching home economics or something?
Sure, yeah.
Amanda is teaching, I don't know, there's nothing hair related, so maths. I don't know. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I like that though.
Bruce Bogtrosny's teaching, like, cooking.
That's what I meant, home economics.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What about Lavender?
biology,
Sure.
botanics. That's the closest to plants. You know, I was
Yeah,
lavender
yeah.
plants. You know.
I mean, they're not in this, so it's fine.
Sure. But I like that detail that all of the
Yeah,
teachers are ex-students. All the teachers are ex-students. I think that's really nice. Yeah.
So as the school has drilled before, Matilda tells all the kids to run to the back door of the school to the playground and stay there. She goes to the front door where Trunchbull is parked, but by the time she gets there, Miss Honey is already outside. She's saying, "You can't be here, Aunt Trunchbull. I swore an oath the day you left that you'd never walk through this doorway again." "Ah, well, I swore no oath, so I will do as I please. I'm going to take back this school if it's the last thing I do, and I will lock you in the chokey for the rest of your days." "But the chokey's gone. We took it out and put a window with a flower bed there instead." Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Just being unbelievably twee.
Yeah. That's what I was laughing at.
Trunchbull lifts her hand, and out of her car fly 2 shot puts towards Miss Honey. At the last moment, Matilda steps out the front door and stops the balls an inch before they hit Miss Honey in the face.
Mm-hmm.
"No, it can't be you. Wormwood!" "What do you think is going to happen here, Trunchbull? Everybody knows what you did now. You're never going to be head teacher of this school again." At that moment, Magnus, Matilda's son, also runs around the corner and hugs Matilda's leg. "Magnus, you should be in a playground hiding with the other kids." Magnus?" says Trunchbull, looking confused at this child hugging Matilda's leg. And then she works it out. She works out who this Magnus is. And in a fit of rage, and also the disgust of seeing a child for the first time in 20 years, she utters, "You're right, Wormwood. If I can't be the head teacher, nobody can." And she raises both hands slowly, with a look of sheer concentration on her face. The ground below them begins to shake, and the walls crack. The 3 of them turn round and they watch as the whole school lifts up 50 metres in the air, revealing all the students and the teachers in the playground behind it. The building moves backwards a bit, so it's positioned directly above the playground, and then Trunchbull drops her hands and the school starts to drop. Matilda, not being as strong as she was, she can't hold the whole school up in the air. She can pull it towards her, which she does, and the school lands exactly where it took off from, essentially. Misses the playground. All the kids are fine.
Oh, so no one was inside the building? Everyone's
No,
outside
they'd all got out of the building.
Okay, sure.
The school crumbles as it lands, and rocks fly everywhere. Matilda deflects a few of them, Magnus hiding behind her, and Trunchbull's already in her car leaving. Miss Honey, on the other hand, doesn't have such luck. She takes a brick to the head, knocking her to the ground.
Is she okay?
Matilda falls to the ground out of sheer exhaustion, leaving Magnus the only conscious person there. He goes straight to Granny Honey to see if she's okay, and she's not. She's bleeding from the head. So he calls an ambulance and does what he can to elevate her head. He might be 6, but he's pretty smart. He's Matilda's son.
This is so dark.
Yeah.
Miss Honey's bleeding out.
At that moment, Matilda comes round. She takes one look at Miss Honey and screams out, "Mum!" And she uses her powers to try and stop the bleeding a little bit until the ambulance comes. And it does quite quickly, and then very quickly whisks away Miss Honey to the hospital, but there's no space for them in the ambulance. They're both absolutely distraught, and I'm shivering.
This is the most intense thing you've done in a while.
They're both distraught, but still able to think clearly, so they decide that Trunchbull's probably going to have gone to their home to claim it back as her own.
Sure. The same house from the original film.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Matilda gets in the car and drives to the only people she knows that she's going to be safe with. The Wormwoods.
Oh, the whole gang's reunited.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She's kept in touch with them over the years, and Magnus even refers to them as his grandparents.
Okay.
Even though they don't get on massively well, but, they're there.
Okay, sure.
They're all aware of each other's existence.
Mm-hmm.
They've retired now. Mr. Wormwood did spend some time in jail for his dodgy business. But eventually, after a while, Mrs. Wormwood won the bingo big time. Got him out, and now they live in, it's not the nicest house. It's an average house, but they don't need to work again.
Sure, okay.
So, they're both retired. Their son still lives with them, but he pays his own way.
Sure.
Or just about. He's probably got debts and stuff. I don't know. Matilda tells them everything while Magnus goes and makes pancakes for himself in the kitchen.
Sure. With a epic soundtrack.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wormwood she's very sympathetic and understanding, saying that they can have the spare room as long as they want. Mr. Wormwood is just as inappropriate and rude as always, though.
Sure.
I couldn't really script them.
Okay.
If it felt like beyond me.
Sure.
So they spend the night, but Matilda can't get any sleep. She's worrying too much about Miss Honey, And also can't forget the fact that Trunchbull is probably sleeping in her bed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not a nice thought.
Not a nice thought at all, no.
I don't know if she's in there right now, John, in your bed. Sends shivers down your spine, right?
I've probably had worse people in there.
Oh dear. Have some standards, John. In the middle of the night, Matilda gets a phone call, which wakes Magnus up as well. And the doctors tell her that after many hours of surgery, they were unsuccessful and Miss Honey has passed away.
Oh my god. This is bleak. Are you crying?
It's tough. I hated myself for doing this, but...
Yeah. So you sure you should be ashamed of yourself?
Yeah.
Finish your story.
This absolutely breaks Matilda and Magnus. They hold each other and just cry all night. The morning comes, and they have breakfast in silence, and then get in a car and drive back to their big house where they know Trunchbull's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
They stop at the end of the drive. Matilda reaches into her pocket and pulls out a red ribbon. She ties back her hair, then looks at Magnus with a tear in her eye and says, "No more Miss Nice Girl."
Ooh. She quoted the title of the movie. Shit's about to go down.
Yeah. The two of them get out of the car and walk up to the house. As they walk past Trunchbull's parked car, Magnus, just quite casually, just raises his hand and crushes the car into a ball of rubble.
Okay.
Matilda looks at him a little bit shocked, and he just shrugs.
Is this the first time he's exhibited any kind of powers?
Yeah.
Okay.
The two of them walk into the house, hand in hand, and the house no longer looks like it's theirs. It looks exactly how Trunchbull had it 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. It's quick work.
Yeah. She's a busy woman.
Sure. Is the portrait back?
Well, it was burnt.
It did get
I don't
burnt,
know what to do there. Maybe there's another one. Maybe she drew her own.
Yeah, sure. No, it's just like a
in
stick
crayon.
figure. Like, really, really amateurish one.
They find her sitting at the kitchen table, scoffing her face on a giant chocolate cake that Magnus made earlier that week.
Mm-hmm.
"It's over, Agatha. You've done enough. What are you going to do, Wormwood? We both know you're not as powerful as me, and I have nothing to lose. You've brought your child here with you," she said, while spitting at the child.
It's like, you've brought your child. Just hocking on that poor kid.
"I'm going to ask you to leave and never come back. Just once." "No." "Very well, then. I hope you like Magnus's cake." Matilda raises her hand and the cake lifts up in front of Trunchbull. Trunchbull also lifts her hand and the cake floats back down to the table. And then Magnus joins in and the cake lifts up again. It floats towards Trunchbull's face and then slowly, piece by piece, the entire massive cake forces its way into her mouth and down into her stomach.
Okay.
It's a disgusting sight to watch.
That does sound pretty gross.
Trunchbull is now retching and just crying on the floor in front of them. It's a sorry sight. At that
Who is this for? It's a while since I've asked that question, but who is this for?
Me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much gripped, but my God, it's getting very dark and graphic and disturbing.
At that moment, 3 police cars draw up outside. The police come in and arrest Trunchbull and take her away. Matilda and Magnus hug each other, and then they get in a car and go to the hospital to pay their respects to Miss Honey or something.
To reclaim the body, it seems.
The doctor takes them to the room, and they walk in to find Miss Honey sitting up in bed with a bandage on her head.
She's alive.
They run to her and hug her. "I assume you dealt with Miss Trunchbull?" "Yes, but we thought you were dead." "No, I'm going to be just fine. I did that because I knew that without that pushed emotion, Magnus, you'd never have unlocked your powers and used them against Trunchbull."
That's pretty dark behaviour.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Faking your own death to make a child so traumatised he uses his psychic powers to take out another woman.
It's Roald Dahl, it's fine.
My God, yeah.
They hug again and we fade to black. And then we come back a few days later at the site of the school.
Okay.
Miss Honey's in a wheelchair. Not that she can't walk or anything, she just...
Lazy.
Massive head injury.
Oh, right, sure. Tomato.
Matilda's holding Magnus and the two of them both have a hand stretched out. And they are very publicly, they are rebuilding the school. All the kids are behind them, they're all cheering them on. And they're just putting the school back together piece by piece.
Okay.
And that's it.
Ah, that was really good.
Thank you.
I was genuinely enthralled by that.
Yeah.
I do think it would crush a lot of childhood dreams to see Miss Honey get like a brutal head injury with a brick and to see the Bruce Bogtrotter scene turn into a horrific scene of torture. But
It's pretty horrific anyway, but...
yeah, but it's kind of in a fun way. There was nothing fun about what you just described. But no, that was good. That was quite memorable. This film definitely brought something out in you.
Didn't it?
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I don't think I've got any questions. Well, actually, I do, yeah. So she's gone to prison now, but once she's got over her cake trauma, she's still going to have all those super psychic powers, right? Is she not going to break out of prison in like a hot minute?
Well, maybe. Matilda 3.
Oh, okay. Maybe there's going to be like
Return of the Trunchbull.
Yeah, maybe there should be like a post-credit scene where she's like in the prison, and then she like looks at the bars and they bend outwards or something.
Something like that, yeah, maybe.
Or we could just go straight into my film where she's actually enjoying being in prison.
Yeah, sure.
She becomes like top bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, that could work.
They should really cast Pam Ferris in Orange is the New Black.
They should.
How good would that be?
Should be great fun.
She would be amazing. Yeah. Like imagine her versus Big Boo or something.
Oh, wow.
Or imagine if her and Big Boo were like lovers.
Both would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Get on it, Genji Cohen. Cool. Okay. I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with both of those ideas. So, let's see how our listeners did this week.
Okay.
Cool. So, listener submissions. First of all, Ben Stevens said his sequel to Matilda is just Carrie. Have you seen the film Carrie?
I've not.
Oh my god.
What?
Okay, we're going to do Carrie soon.
Okay.
It's a horror movie, a Stephen King horror movie about a girl with psychic powers who's older than Matilda. It's good.
Sorry.
Okay. Ben Stevens also said Matilda, as in D-E-U-X, the French Matilda.
Oh, nice.
Matilda, yeah. Tyler Lubin just said X-Men, ?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Which is what I thought you were going to do. That's why I said, I think I know where this is going to go. Clearly, I did not have a clue where that was going. In a whole other direction. But for some reason, when you said you had a kid, I thought you were going to make the kid like Charles Xavier or the guy from Legion or something. So,
Okay, sure.
Yeah. But you didn't, which I'm pleased with. Well, that would work too, but you definitely went on a more creative route. Mike Carey said Mafrilda. Mafrill, as in Thrill.
I got it.
Yeah. Under Miss Honey's loving guidance, Matilda opens a carnival of wonders, like a travelling circus of freaks.
Okay, now we're talking.
Scarlett Lee said Matilda 2, The Secret of the Pancakes, in which a wise sewer rat tells Matilda her powers are derived from the flour in her own homemade pancakes. So it all ties back to that dance scene. Maggie Roche also went with Matilda. Then she also added Amusante avec calembour français, which apparently translates as fun with French puns. Great.
Okay.
Because Matilda is a pun.
Yeah. I got it, John. Well done.
It took me a few minutes of reading it back to get what that meant. Joe Herman, Mandrilda.
What?
Not a porn, thank God. Mandrilda is Matilda becomes friends with a monkey. Like a mandrill monkey.
Okay.
Hilarity ensues.
Right, okay. Titles.
The title's questionable.
Got some room for work.
Yeah, it probably exists and it's probably no one should ever see it.
No.
Haley Kasbers? It looks like a Polish name. Haley, you've got a Polish sister-in-law-esque. Can you pronounce that?
Oh, Haley Kasbrick?
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Haley Kasbrick.
That's an absolute guess.
Sure. So Haley Kasbrick says, a movie in which we solely follow Danny DeVito's character. I want to know what his life on the run was like.
Yeah.
I almost went with that, but I couldn't really think of anything. But yeah, it's an option. Drew Miller said Matilda Destiny. I like it. Mara Wilson has to travel back in time to World War II and convince a horn dog Roald Dahl to put his philandering aside and start writing children's books. Along the way, she crosses paths with Ian Fleming, Christopher Lee, and the rest of the Baker Street irregulars. So I guess it's sort of a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen meets classic writers.
Sure, I guess, yeah.
Good work, yeah. Ian Esmer says, I don't know about the name, but my pitch is that we just follow that kid who ate the whole cake. What a hero. I agree. Katie Bryan said, 2 Matilda Fast, 2 Matilda Furious.
Nice.
Ross Burton,
Oh, no.
not troll, says, this is a very Ross answer. Let's assume the following things are true. This is an essay from Ross. It's an X-Men prequel.
Sure.
It's one of only a small fraction of X-Men films that are actually any good.
Sure.
So let's use it as the first in a new, open bracket, good, close bracket, series of X-Men films. Let's do Dark Phoenix, but properly with all the space stuff and Jean Grey going all weird and scary. Or the astonishing X-Men where they fight the newly sentient Battle Room and Cyclops kills a giant sentinel with one eye blast. That feels very tangentially related to Matilda. I feel that was just Ross's rant for the day that he felt like he wanted to crowbar him. I can see where he was coming from.
Is Matilda Jean Grey? Because then we're talking.
Yeah, I'm guessing maybe that would work, yeah.
Yeah.
I did almost go for a Legion thing. I was like Matilda in Legion. That was like one of my backups, but yeah. False Starts Podcast, at False Starts Pod. We know that Matilda never had to use her powers again. The Trunchbull is gone. That's what we know. So Matilda grows up, graduates, and gets a proper job and a good apartment in the city. Her mum and dad get wind of this and decide to move in. Matilda, being the kind soul that she is, lets it happen, because they're old now, but they're just as horrid as they always were. There's a corporate takeover at her job, and the new boss is a smarmy, mean, misogynistic piece of shit. He turns the office into a hellscape with bars on the windows to prevent jumpers. Every office cubicle is now an actual cube. 6 sides, no mingling, no water machines, only very strong coffee to keep everyone super alert.
Wow.
So, it's up to Matilda to use not magic, but her smarts to lead a workers' revolt and take him down. So yeah, I guess it's Matilda as an adult. Yeah.
Okay.
Film Me Up at Film Me Up Reviews. Matilda has to cope with her child living in the 21st century with video games and movies instead of books. That's good. They should actually make it happen, and it should be called Matilda by hook or by book.
Nice.
Like it.
Yeah, yeah.
And finally, Blokebusters said, Matilda 2, back to school. Matilda has become a teacher at Cruncham Hall with Miss Honey as the headmistress. Much like a lot of teachers now, she's grown a little bit cynical, but is mostly as pleasant as she ever was. And she still has her powers and frequently uses them to mess with any kids who are acting up.
Mm-hmm.
One day, a man arrives and calls her Dipface. We realise that it's a grown-up Michael, her brother from the original film, Michael Wormwood. He describes how he eventually came back to the USA and now wants to reconnect. At the same time, a man claiming to be Miss Honey's dad also appears. Michael grows close to Matilda and helps her to investigate the man. It turns out that he is in fact her father, having faked his own death with the help of Ms Trunchbull. This is Miss Honey's father.
Mm-hmm.
So we discover now that Miss Honey is actually a manipulative wench who's always wanted her father's fortune. And used Matilda in the original film to get her hands on it. So she was the villain all along.
Wow.
Yeah. The Trunchbull just happens to be a terrible person, so that made it easier for her to create the lie. So Matilda has to decide between joining forces with her old family or sticking by the woman who raised her. In the end, she goes full scanners and blows both their heads off and runs away. I felt the Blokebusters ran out of ideas there and just needed to end it on a horrifying note of violence, but that's fine. We've all been there.
Do you prefer mine where Miss Honey fakes her own death, or do you prefer that one where Miss Honey was evil through all the whole first film?
I don't think in your one Miss Honey is particularly evil. I just think it's a bit of an extreme thing to do. So I'm going to stick with yours. I don't want Miss Honey to be evil.
I mean, with mine, it was extreme for extreme's sake.
Yeah, sure.
Like, we need to deal with Trunchbull somehow. And if Trunchbull more powerful than Matilda, what are we going to do?
Yeah, okay, fine. No, it makes sense.
Logic.
I still think it's a little manipulative, but...
Well, yeah, it had to be, though.
Okay, fine. Cool. I mean, Miss Honey does cross some boundaries in the original film, so, yeah, as we discussed. So, cool. So there's our listener submissions for that week. Thank you, guys. I thought they were all very good. If you have any sequel ideas for Matilda or any other films we've done in the past, please let us know. We are Beyond the Box Set. You can find us at beyondtheboxset.com. Our podcast is available on all good podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Acast, Podbean, Google Play, Stitcher, etc. Just search Beyond the Box Set or go to our website where all the links can be found. If you like the show, please review and subscribe. It really helps us to find new listeners. And you can also support us on Patreon to access all of the exclusive bonus content we mentioned earlier. Just go to patreon.com/Beyond the Box Set. And next week, we're going to continue our actors turned directors season for another week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my choice.
Yeah.
So I have decided that if we're going to do actors turned directors, it shouldn't just all be men. So I'm going to do a notable film by a female actor turned director. So next week, we are going to do the film Whip It, directed by Drew Barrymore.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
Is Drew Barrymore that person I thought was a guy?
She was in 50 First Dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did think she was a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's in that Netflix series, Santa Clarita Diet. This pains me.
What, that I don't know much about Drew
You not
Barrymore?
knowing, I mean, I'm used to not knowing pop culture references, but this one it hurts, because she was so famous when I was a kid, and like she's still famous. She's an A-list celebrity, but yeah, it's just a dagger in my heart.
All right, well...
I mean, she was the little girl in E.T. That's what she's still most famous for. You've seen E.T., right?
I don't care for E.T. You know what? I don't even like Steven Spielberg.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like his films. I'm
None
going to
of
say it. I've made an executive decision.
Wow, you
Not
waited
a
to the end
fan.
of this episode to drop that bombshell. So what, there are no Steven Spielberg films you like? I know you didn't like Jurassic Park.
No, don't like Jurassic Park. Didn't really care for Ready Player One.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Not seen it.
E.T.?
Didn't really like it.
Schindler's... Well, I guess that's not really a fun film.
I've not seen Schindler's List.
It would not work on this podcast.
Yeah.
I've often thought we could try it, but it would
Yeah, me too.
It would be the most depressing, and it'd be so hard to not be horribly offensive. Like,
what else has he done? I mean, I guess Bridge of Spies was all right.
Yeah. I think maybe you've seen the wrong Spielberg films.
What else is there? Did he do Indiana Jones, or was that George Lucas?
I think it was him.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right.
I feel like I need to test this. You liked AI, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I preferred the Stanley Kubrick bits of it, though.
Sure.
The Spielberg stuff, not such a fan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well. This
Well, there we go. So,
luckily, we're not
sorry,
watching
everyone.
Luckily, we're not watching a Steven Spielberg film. We're watching a Drew Barrymore film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whip It. Yes.
Whip It.
Whip It.
What's it vaguely about? Can you tell me or not?
I'm not going to tell you a thing. I'm going to let you watch it.
All right, cool.
Cool. Well, so join us next week when we will watch Whip It.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye everybody.